How you doing, Mr. DJ? Back on the countdown of my fancy playlist, July 30th, 1989. Got ourselves a club R&B banger at number 17, up 4 from 21. Carolyn White with Secret Rendezvous from her debut album. The Way You Love Me was the first single off that album, or it might have been Superwoman. Well, both of those were big R&B hits. The Way You Love Me was a big pop crossover as well back in the fall of 1988. Secret Rendezvous was the second or third single off her debut album. Did well. Number 1 on the dance charts, number 4 R&B, number 6 on Billboard's Hot 100. Carolyn White, she goes back. Started writing songs when she was 17 years old. A year later, she wrote a song that was covered by Stephanie Mills, recorded by Stephanie Mills, called Automatic Passion. And Stephanie Mills put that one on an album. But Carolyn White, and that was a pretty big success story right there for Carolyn White, because Stephanie Mills was a pretty substantial, pretty big R&B artist back in the late 70s into the 80s. She had several pop crossovers. Remember the Medicine song by Stephanie Mills? Remember that one from 84? That was not a big pop hit, but R&B. And you might remember You're Putting a Rush on Me by Stephanie Mills. But I'm getting carried away about Stephanie Mills. Let's go back to Carolyn White. Shalimar. When Jody Watley left Shalimar, auditions were held to replace Jody Watley. Carolyn White auditioned. She didn't get it. Carolyn White joined a group called Legacy soon after that. A group called Legacy, and that looked promising for a while. But she was let go. She was cut loose from the group because they didn't consider her singing to be commercial enough. Then she got a job singing backup for O'Brien. Remember O'Brien? He did a song called The Gigolo, or it was just called Gigolo. He had some R&B hits back in the 80s. Remember watching one of his videos? It was The Gigolo, I believe, on Night Tracks back in 1984. But Carolyn White's big break came when she appeared on an album by Jeff Lober. Jeff Lober was an R&B jazz fusion artist, and he was putting, and on his album there were some duets. Sita Garrett was slated to be one of the original singers on his album, but for some reason she was hired, but then she was not available. But you might remember Sita Garrett. She will appear. She appeared in 1987 on the Bad album by Michael Jackson, sang that fabulous love song, that tearjerker by Michael Jackson, I Just Can't Stop Loving You, back in the late summer or fall of 1984. I remember that song. God, that was a heartbreaking song right there. Michael Jackson, he delivered a great vocal on that record. I just can't stop loving you. But now I'm getting carried away again. Let's go back to Carolyn White. Carolyn White auditioned to sing in Sita Garrett's place, or auditioned to sing with Jeff Lober. She got the job. She appeared on a duet with Jeff Lober called The Facts of Love. That was released as a single. Boy, what a break that was. Went to number 27 on Billboard's Hot 100 early 1987. And that sort of came to the attention of two stellar producers. One of the hottest production teams of the late 80s and 90s, L.A. Reid and Babyface. They approached the vice president of artists and repertoire of Warner Brothers, and they wanted to work with somebody. This guy, this vice president at Warner Brothers, he told Babyface and L.A. Reid, he said, "Okay, here's what we got for you guys. Just take your pick. You can work with Chaka Khan, you can work with Al Jarreau, or you can work with Carolyn White." And L.A. Reid, without even thinking, let's do Carolyn White. I want to work with Carolyn White. And everybody was like, what? Don't you want to work with somebody really big like Chaka Khan or Al Jarreau? Why aren't you taking a chance on somebody who's new? Someone who's not that well known? But L.A. Reid wanted to work with a new artist. And they worked closely with Carolyn White. I read that Babyface worked really closely with her on the vocals of Superwoman, one of her hits off that her debut album. So L.A. Reid and Babyface, along with Daryl Simmons, they were writing songs that would fit Karyn White. She knew what she wanted. They wanted to write songs that would fit her talent, her vocals, her abilities, whatever you want to call it. And her debut album was just a smash. The Way You Love Me was a massive hit for her on the pop charts. In 1988, there was Superwoman, and this is among the talents of Babyface and L.A. Reid to create an R&B song that would do well on R&B and hip hop, maintain that R&B and hip hop base, and yet cross over on the pop charts, something like Motown did back in the 60s and 70s, early 70s. One of her biggest hits, though, Romantic. She teamed up, remember Romantic, back in the late summer, fall of 1991. That went to #1 on Billboard's Hot 100. That was her biggest hit. Produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. L.A. Reid and Babyface, there is no doubt about it, boy. Some of the other songs that they produced, Don't Be Cruel by Bobby Brown back in 1988. My by Johnny Gill. Yes, they teamed up and produced that Quiet Storm classic by Johnny Gill. My. Which, if I remember correctly, was the runner-up to Rub You the Right Way. I love to reminisce about these songs, bring back those memories of back in the day. And if I remember correctly, My actually got a Grammy for R&B Song of the Year. But let's get back to Karyn White, see if there's anything that I've missed about her. I think I've already mentioned that the song that she wrote for Stephanie Mills when she was 18 years old, when Karyn White was 18 years old, she wrote the song. The song that Stephanie Mills covered was called Automatic Passion. Well, here we are at number 17 on my fancy playlist. Secret Rendezvous, Karyn White, fancy playlist, July 30th, 1989.